Greetings, fellow armchair Imagineers. Tiki here,
And BlueDragonFive.
and welcome to the Main Street Cinema, the show where we discuss the finer points of filmmaking. And welcome to the conclusion of our epic 2017 Ranking Extravaganza.
Part two.
Oh boy, man, oh man, Dragon. So I think the podcast we recorded last night might be in the top three in terms of longest podcast on the channel, Dragon.
Well, Freakazoid's definitely.
Freakazoid is definitely higher, but I'm saying it's up there with Freakazoid. It's like in the Mount Rushmore of long podcast with Freakazoid.
I still say we could go longer on Freakazoid. If we never got another chance at it, man. We could top it. I kid.
I'm about to say, Dragon, like that's the difference between you and me. I like to keep it short. Anyways. Oh boy, so Dragon, yes, I have seen 54 movies this year. You have seen 40 movies this year. So, Dragon, I gotta give you credit, man. You've definitely done your homework on this one. I was very impressed with how robust your list was, and for that reason, I think that's what made our podcast go on so long, because we were flipping back and forth constantly between our two lists, especially once we got to the top 40. So suffice to say, by the end of it, it was like over 3.5 hours long. So I was like, okay, you know what? We're going to just hold off. We're going to start over tomorrow and kind of build up to the top 5 with kind of basically, folks, our honorable mentions in this list are going to be the numbers 10 through 6. And then we're going to go back and forth and, like really build up our top 5, talk about them all individually. Because, Dragon, I don't know about you. This might be the most personal top 5 for me that we've ever done. This was gut wrenching having to put these films above each other. Like each one of the top 5 are films that I definitely think I'm going to be going back to, revisiting, rewatching for for years to come, Dragon.
Okay.
All right. So with that in mind, Dragon, do you want to go ahead and get started by going through your honorable mentions? Do you want to start first, or should I start first?
If you'd like to go first, by all means.
I shall go first. Just let me get to my first image. Okay. All right. So like I said, folks, it's going to be 10 through 6. 10 through 6 for me. Oh, and also it should be worth noting that I went ahead and I posted a link to part 1 in the video description. That's already there. And also, Dragon, don't worry, I don't have the top 5 posted for either of us, but I went ahead and posted our complete list. That's why I kind of took a little longer than, Dragon, that's why I kind of had to have that delay. I went ahead and took the liberty of posting our full list, my number 53 to number 6 and Dragon's number 40 to number 6. And the top 5 shall remain a mystery for now. Ooh. All right, Dragon. You ready to get into it? Ready to get into my top 5? Or I'm sorry, my top 5 honorable mentions, I should say.
Sure.
My bad.
I think we lost the oh, there we go. Okay, it's all trippy now. Okay,
I know. I'm sorry.
Brother, folks, just enjoy the trippiness, bask in it while you can. And now it's
Dragon, riff with me.
Oh, we're riffing.
Beep, Richie. All right. So, Dragon, my number 10 is It. It was among the most anticipated films for the year. I am a big horror movie guy, and here's the thing about It. It disappointed me as a horror movie. It did not scare me at all. And Dragon, that's why I honestly think you would love it, because it's just kind of like a red-blooded adventure movie with like some fun sort of like carnival spook house elements to it that really aren't that effective in terms of jump scare. But, it's more about just, like I said, it's more about just the bond between the kids, which is really striking, really rich, right up there with Stranger Things when it comes to chemistry between the cast members. And of course, this story inspired Stranger Things. So, you can't call it derivative of Stranger Things. And of course, Bill Skarsgård, Dragon, I used this analogy last night. Bill Skarsgård doesn't eat the scenery. He doesn't chew the scenery. He's basically taking ice cream scoops full of the scenery and shoving them down his throat every moment he's in. And it's amazing. All right, my number 9 is Get Out, fantastic horror movie, the best horror movie of the year. I think this is definitely going to be a movie that will be remembered and talked about for years to come. I gotta tell you, Dragon, there's some weird elements of it that there's basically like a hypnotism subplot and some weird visual trippiness for me that doesn't quite land. Like, that's the thing. It is Jordan Peele's first movie, so some of the visual choices are kind of like, okay, this is, it's a great movie. It's a great concept. I can just kind of tell it's, it's kind of got like a little bit of first movie-itis in a good way. So that's why it's not higher on my list. That's why it's not in my top 5. It's in a lot of people's top 5. It's a lot of people's number 1 for the year, and I completely understand that. And Dragon, look for this to be nominated for Best Picture. If this doesn't get nominated for Best Picture, there's going to be an upset.
Yep.
All right. Number 8, Blade Runner 2049. What a beautiful movie. What a striking movie. What a challenging movie. And Dragon, that's the word that comes to mind when talking about Blade Runner 2049. It's challenging. It's thought-provoking. It's mental gymnastics. This is a movie that AI should have been. It's basically a really, really incredibly deep exploration on what it means to be human versus what it means to be, artificial intelligence. Basically every scene is like an intellectual lecture. And because of that reason, because it's got kind of like that college professor thing going on with it, where it's like, I'm going to talk to you about philosophy. That's why it's not in my top 5, because it's not the most rewatchable movie in the world. And it's super long, but my God, it's a journey. It's a journey. And if you get yourself wrapped up in it, if you can, it's a great noir piece too. It's a great film noir. And if you get yourself wrapped up in it, I think you'll definitely come away from it with a changed perspective one way or another. Okay. Number 7 is Lady Bird. This is a great Saoirse Ronan performance. This is a really, really genuine, touching, earnest coming-of-age story. It's basically the movie that Juno was trying to be minus the pregnancy thing, where Juno was kind of like just an insufferable, like, oh, look at me, I'm so quirky, I'm talking on my hamburger phone.
I really fixate on the hamburger thing. I just want to point that out.
I really hate the hamburger phone, Dragon, because I hate the, look, if she just had the hamburger phone, that'd be one thing, right? Like, oh, that's a quirky person. It's the fact that she's like, hold on, I'm talking to you on my hamburger phone. It's the fact that she points it out that really gets under my skin.
Not exactly as charming as the cheeseburger backpack.
No, not nearly as charming as that. Dragon, here's the thing. Saoirse Ronan plays a character who is trying to be rebellious, who's trying to be a brat, but at the end of the day, she's a really good, genuine person who's raised by a mother, who you see in the picture, played by Greta Gerwig, who also directed the film. And the mother character is also very, very complex, very deep, very prickly, very against the daughter's transformation, as you see. And it's just a beautiful movie about a mother-daughter relationship. It's got a great ending, Dragon. The ending really kind of elevated it. If it weren't for the ending, I don't think it'd be in the top 5. It'd probably be like in the top 25. But the ending really stuck to landing for me. The ending was really moving. All right. Number 6 is Logan. Just to talk about why this isn't in the top 5, because we all know how good it is. Logan simply isn't in the top 5 for me, just because I don't think it's the most rewatchable movie in the world, and rewatchability is a big factor when it comes to my favorite movies of the year. Having said that, like I said, Dragon, I'm sure you'll talk about it extensively in your top 5 list. We all know how good it is. Let's move on. Dragon, you ready to reveal your top 5?
Yeah, sure. A little recap, folks. Well, I mean, you mean my...
Well, yeah, I'm sorry. I keep saying top 5, and I mean, and I mean your honorable mentions.
Well, honorable mentions / recap for the folks out there. So,
okay, hold on. Sorry, let me get to number 10, because I don't want to spoil anything in your top 5.
Certainly. So again, folks, just what we're aiming to do here is, just kind of, we already went through this extensively. We kind of like cut you off at 5. So I want to make it a fulfilling experience. I want to give you like a little kind of bonus, kind of fill out the episode with some like, hey, here's also, it was the build up that we much appreciate for you folks there, because we love you.
And I also I have a lot to say about my top five, Dragon. I could write essays about each of the movies in my top five. So go ahead, Dragon. Number 10.
Okay, so number 10, real quick, and again, we already kind of talked about these, obviously, with the last one, but just to also give them their due, also get roll into some briefly. So again, number 10 for me, Wonder Woman. It was really tossed between Wonder Woman and Dunkirk. I guess they're both great in different ways, but at the end of the day, Wonder Woman for me, it was what the DCEU needed. It had that, again, I'm not saying it beat out or was exactly the same thing as like a Richard Donner film, but it had like the Donner charm applied to an iconic superhero that I think Wonder Woman needed. It was kind of her first foray onto the big screen. I think it really it went like gangbusters for her. Everyone's talking about this movie this year, and I think it shows like, again, this movie got a lot of things right. Patty Jenkins, she did a really good job directing. Of course, everyone's going to, and look, the third act, yeah, basically there are flaws in the third act. There's no way around it. But I'll put it in. Look, folks, I'm going to say what I said last time. It's really half the third act that's the problem. After we realize Ares is, he's physically there. Like when he's just an idea, it's cool, and the reveal is fine. Just everything after that's when he becomes like a physical. When the god just appears there and he's fighting Wonder Woman. You look at it comparatively when we do something it's called the Snyder filter. When we do one of those action sequences, and we basically everything gets all dreary and dark, and it's just kind of like punching each other like almost like a Dragon Ball Z field. Compared to all the other times we've done, this feels like the most warranted though, because it's just kind of it's on a tarmac. It's kind of it's a setting like that. He looks like he stepped right off the page in terms of the Ares armor. So I mean, I think it's the most out of all of those. It's probably the most. The one to be most accepted. So I always look at it with that grain of salt. So the point is, even with that scene, it doesn't take anything away from the movie. So Wonder Woman is still a real good time. It's filled. It was a wonderful surprise this year, and Gal Gadot, she was great. No Man's Land, the whole shebang. Wonder Woman, good movie. Okay, number 9. Number 9, Jim and Andy. And oh boy, folks. This image kind of speaks to the big reason I checked this movie out in the first place. It was a surprise announcement this year for me. It was a mind-blowing reveal in the trailer, because I knew this. I heard this thing was coming out. I had no idea what what was going to separate this thing, make a really interesting documentary on Netflix. But what the premise is that Andy Kaufman, sorry, because he's that good. Jim Carrey, while he was portraying Andy Kaufman in Man on the Moon, apparently he videotaped, because famously he was in character when he performed. I didn't know how extensively in character he was, because when he went off the set, he was also in character. Like when he went home, he basically Jim Carrey lost time, having become Andy Kaufman. Andy Kaufman's in the driver's seat making his own biopic, and in the end, folks, it's a fascinating character reflection on Jim Carrey. And on Andy Kaufman, kind of seeing the similarities they had in their lifestyles, and how Jim Carrey was kind of inspired by kind of how freeing it was to be Andy Kaufman. Like we get to see large segments where Jim Carrey as Andy Kaufman has become Tony Clifton on set. So again, it's one of those meta films you'll see this year. I highly recommend it. It's getting great reviews. I think it lives up to those great reviews. I will say the ending definitely it may not grab everyone. Basically, if you can't buy into the premise, or if you just think it's like just kind of weird, it may not grab you. But at the end of the day, folks, that just shows you how well they capture and how well Jim Carrey captured being Andy Kaufman. That's Andy Kaufman for you. It's not going to grab everyone. It's going to leave you scratching your head and wondering, but that's the experience, man. And so Jim and Andy, I highly recommend it. It's one of my favorite documentaries this year.
All right, number 8.
Number 8. This is a surprise.
Oh, hi, Dragon. You like my beautiful girls?
So this movie surprised me how high I ranked this one. I really had a fantastic time with this. I had a great theater experience with Disaster Artist, but even taking that out of the equation, it's the best biopic this year. It added layers to Tommy Wiseau I never imagined. Franco, he did an outstanding job, not just in the role, because that kind of goes without saying. I mean, he just transformed without losing himself to the role entirely like Jim Carrey. But still, impressively, he did transform himself, and he directed the film as Wiseau had directed The Room. And what I love in the direction, I think Franco did a really good job directing it. There are certain images that stick out to me very much. So overall, I mean, I love how he kind of shot it like The Room was. I like how he shot it like The Room was shot. But at the end of the day, folks, this boils down to this one image of Greg Sestero and Tommy Wiseau in the limo, surrounded by the the room merchandise, is crowding the little limo that they're in, driving to the premiere. That to me, that summarizes the movie, and it's a fascinating kind of showcase of a biopic that also kind of adapts a book and does it's a good. It's a story about an eccentric making a movie. It's another Ed Wood for 2017. I thought it's definitely worth looking into.
All right, number 7.
Yes, number 7. SpiderMan Homecoming. So yeah, SpiderMan Homecoming. Yeah, at the end of the day, folks, it's Spider-Man the MCU. I've been waiting years for this, and I always love when you kind of connect the dots in the MCU and just have all this fun stuff, and you kind of interconnect. Keaton as the Vulture, as Adrian Toomes was phenomenal. He did a great job. He did not disappoint one iota. We're doing a lot of things with Spider-Man that we haven't seen before, and they're very aware of that in the movie. Like, we've kind of seen Spider-Man do with these other things. We're kind of trying not to pull the same hat trick. I mean, eventually we might kind of do some of that stuff down the line. So, I mean, Spider-Man Homecoming was refreshing. Marvel had an outstanding year, this year with their films. It's a different film that has fun, with a younger Spider-Man in this very well established, by this soon to be 10 years within the MCU. It's been
that's crazy to think about, by the way.
I know. It's great. Again, it's not perfect. Elements like Flash Thompson, some other elements people aren't crazy about, and it's just that's why it's kind of the lowest ranked of the MCU films, because you got some of those some of those things I wish they kind of maybe could have altered a little bit, but on the whole, it's a
frankly, I wish people would stop pretending it's a better movie than Spider-Man 2.
Which again,
that's my only problem with it.
Right. So the point is, a debate does exist with that. So the point is, Spider-Man Homecoming was a fun Spider-Man experience for the year, to say the least.
All right. And number 6.
Number 6. Boy, oh boy. Guardians of the Galaxy, Volume 2. So, Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2. This is definitely the most anticipated movie at the top of 2017 going into Marvel. I think everyone, we were all very excited to see Guardians because we love the first one. Just seeing yet another go around with them. It's this high on the list, and again, it's so close to the top 5 spot. It was really close to being number 5, but it's very rewatchable. It's super enjoyable. I mean, Tiki's already spoken this. The emotional Yondu moments. Of course, they are just
the ending, man. The ending.
Yes, the ending. Rocket shedding a tear. I mean, again, it's a beautiful, inspired ending. It's basically James Gunn getting to make a true. Basically, there's a lot of Marvel kind of. It wasn't mandated in the first one. It felt very much like kind of like the Marvel formula shaken up through the James Gunn viewpoint, and it was still fun. It's even just in that wheel.
Right,
I still love it. And I still love the first Guardians. Honestly, if it came down to, I think I'm probably still picking the first Guardians just out of like the sheer love I have for that. But 2 is ambitious. It does a lot of great stuff. At the same time, the reasons I'm not. I put it definitely under 5 would be, it does have there's humor here and there that doesn't land. I think it's noticeable. I think it's that's some reason people are taking their shots at Guardians too. There's some humor that doesn't land, like there's some bathroom humor here or there. That might just be me, but there's some other stuff too. Some juvenile jokes here and there. Also, I think there are definitely places where things feel mandated, mainly in the first act. In the first act, that's where we get the most of this. I think once it gets its feet off the ground, then everything becomes the pure James Gunn movie. But we have a few mandated things like, hey, we love this in the first movie, make sure you get it in the second. But again, for me, at the end of the day, the last thing I got to say here is that, I love Star-Lord, and my favorite moment, the moment I keep coming back to, not so much the great Yondu scenes, which are great, but that one moment is when Peter Quill is he's kind of being overwhelmed, like in the climax of the film, while he's visiting his father, he goes to the Living Planet, and he.
You think you have problems? That's my freaking father.
This is this moment where he's being overwhelmed. We have these. It looks like it's going to be the end for Peter Quill. And we have these beautiful, like little dialogueless, these soundless flashes, these personal flashes of Peter Quill and his friends, and the influence, the impact that he's had on his friends. Like he's laughing it up with Drax. He's, Yondu is teaching him how to shoot. He's flying with Rocket. These really beautiful little moment, and it's that
In
moment.
a way, it's kind of the movie's "Take My Hand, Peter" moment.
It is, and I love that "Take My Hand, Peter" moment so much from the first.
Oh,
one.
I know you do. I know you
That's
do.
what
I do
just
too.
I just keep honestly. I would rewatch this movie so many times just to get that moment. It's that strong for me. You know, Guardians 2 it's a really emotional. It's a really good time. So just Guardians Volume 2. It's fantastic.
All right, Dragon.
All right, so yes, those folks, that's the build up to our top 5. And unfortunately, as much as we love these movies, you know, we couldn't quite get them in the top 5. But we love them.
So, Dragon, let's just imagine a scenario with our good friend Drax and Star-Lord here. What would that sound like?
I gotta imagine, you know, Star-Lord, because I love me some Peter Quill. I just gotta imagine, I love this scene, by the way, just this image we're pulling from. You gotta imagine Star's like, oh man, Drax, we just get the end of 2017. They're making the big list. We tried our hearts out, man, and people love our movie. I mean, look at it. Everyone, their mother loves Guardians of the Galaxy, and we still couldn't get in the top 5. What's up with that, man? That's not fair.
Peter, I think that Dragon and Tiki are just as upset as we are that we couldn't get into the top 5. Tiki even said he regretted that we didn't get into the top 10. So, relax, buddy.
Oh well, Drax. I guess you're right.
Now, do you want a hug?
I'm okay, buddy. I think we're good.
No, I think you need a hug. Come here.
Oh, okay. We're doing this. Thanks, Drax.
All right, in all seriousness, yep. Dragon, let's get to my top 5. Man, oh man. Oh,
now,
God.
folks, quite literally, this is the final countdown.
It really is, Dragon. It's coming. It's here. God. Oh, I'm not prepared for this, Dragon. I'm genuinely terrified right now.
You gotta remember, this and a certain debate we have coming up will be kind of our swan songs for 2017, so we're reaching the end of this year.
I just want to, before I show the image, I just want to say, until like 2 days ago, this was number 1, all right?
Wow.
Dunkirk. Oh, boy. This is my favorite Christopher Nolan movie, Dragon. I don't care what you say. I don't care what anyone says.
All right.
There's always been something structurally about the Dark Knight movies where it's like they're really grippy movies that have a few too many subplots going on in them. That's the thing. Like, there's like I actually think Batman Begins might be the most well-rounded of the 3 of them. The Dark Knight definitely has the highest highs. For me, Dragon, I love this movie because it's deconstructionist cinema at its finest, and that's exactly what Nolan does. And this is Nolan's boldest movie. It's his crisp, most well-made movie on a technical level. It's also his shortest movie, which I appreciate because I think some can agree that, you know, movies like The Dark Knight Rises and Interstellar, you know, they have their moments, but they can go on a little long. They can drag.
Interstellar.
What?
Mainly Interstellar with a long.
Mainly Interstellar and also The Dark Knight Rises.
I would say I think Interstellar might be the actual longest movie he's made. That's what
I think you're right. Yeah, I think Interstellar is the one movie he's made that actually does push the 3-hour mark.
Yeah.
So Dragon, that's the thing. That was the big pleasant surprise for me about Dunkirk. Was going into it, I was like, oh God, this is like it's Christopher Nolan's excuse to make a 4-hour movie, Dragon. But then I heard about the runtime. You know, I heard about the runtime before going into it, you know, and I was like, oh, okay. You know, the runtime is about 100 minutes. And that is honestly the main reason why this is my favorite Nolan movie, because this is basically Nolan Prime, man. This is like Nolan, like it's, you know how, like, this is basically like Batman the Animated Series, like Mask of the Phantasm is Batman Prime. This is Nolan Prime. Dragon, I love the timelines in this movie. That's a big, like, experiencing that in theater the way I did, not knowing anything about how this movie was actually going to be presented, sitting down and just experiencing, like, wait a minute, okay, we have to do math. Okay, so the beach stuff is 7 days, and then the plane is 24 hours. No, I'm sorry, the boat is 24 hours. The plane is 1 hour. And Dragon, again, mental gymnastics, man, mental gymnastics. But unlike Blade Runner 2049, this has a crisp runtime. It's not like, it's oddly not really dour and depressing. It's more just riveting and triumphant at the end. And of course, Mark Rylance is the one character in the movie that just, I think Mark Rylance is kind of like the compass of everything else. I think he's the one character that you really grow an attachment to. Not to say the other characters, that's the thing about the movie too. Other people, I can see how other people have the problem where it's like there's no real characters in this movie besides maybe Mark Rylance.
That's the point, though, and that's the thing. That's
exactly the point. It's
it's going to risk losing people, but that's the point. It's the thing to respect about the movie, though.
Because the whole thing about the film is that it drops you in, Dragon. It fucking drops.
You will never be able to walk
into there.
You'll never be able to walk into like a watch repair shop again. You'll never be able to.
Oh God! Yeah, that score by Hans Zimmer.
It's like the new Jaws of 2017. It's like the new Jaws. Like, you hear like the ticking of a second hand. It's like just gonna hear that ticking sound. You're gonna be running.
It's definitely not the most catchy Hans Zimmer soundtrack out there, but I think it's the most innovative Hans Zimmer soundtrack. If I'm being honest,
it's almost like he did on a dare of like, how do you make it something more tense than that Joker string thing from The Dark Knight? Hans, how do you? Like, Hans, tell me, how are you going to make? Just Christopher Nolan's walking in there and he's saying, "Hello, Hans. So we're doing the movie now, and I need something really intense. I need something that's going to really elevate the film. What do you got for me?" He's just opening his file cabinet. Let me see, Christopher. Let me see. Ah, yes. Here we go. It's very minimal. It's like one. It's blank sheet music, and on the back it says the ticking of a watch. Watch. Just basically pulls out like a fancy. I'm just saying Hans Zimmer is like a fancy pocket watch. He's just letting it tick along, and it's just playing it over the audio track, and says, "Oh my God, Hans, it's brilliant, right?"
All right. And yeah, just going back to the lack of characters, like I said, it's it's the situation. Like, I love the fact that this movie, Dragon, this is the first of two movies about war that subvert the genre in a good way. In a good way.
All right. Don't be so pointed with that.
And of course, that other movie about war has incredibly likable, memorable characters. This one does it. Really, it's the character thing, because all the movies in my top 4 have just freaking fantastic characters all the way around. So that's really the only reason why Dunkirk's not number 1. Dragon, honestly, on a technical level, I think Dunkirk is like the most well-made movie of 2017.
Yeah, I mean, I agreed with it when I was making my list. Dunkirk was like my number 11, but I would easily concede, like, objectively, it's in the top 5 movies of like objectively, it's like one of the best, if not one of probably. It's definitely one of the best. It's probably the best made movie.
And I guess it's just like the whole idea of the of the everyman soldier, and basically like just. It's almost like I know this sounds like an inappropriate analogy, but it's almost like a theme park ride where you're just kind of plopped into this like really harrowing circumstance, and there's literally no breathing room. The whole film is tense. The whole film is just like edge of your seat, especially with the Zimmer taking clock.
Forget Jungle Cruise. What I want to see is a Christopher Nolan take on It's a Small World.
Oh man. With the clock is like a main plot point.
Maybe. I mean, I'd be sold out. But imagine what Nolan could do with Nolan's such a good filmmaker. He could take It to Small World and make it like an Oscar-worthy movie, and of course not get an Oscar because the Academy's really fickle.
Right.
I'm calling you out, Academy. I'm calling you out.
Anyway, any last word on Dunkirk? I love saying that.
It's just Mark Rylance saying it's one of my favorite running gags this year, to be honest. Dunkirk. But yeah, it's just Nolan, he captured war in a whole new way, and it's very impressive. At the end, it's a great experimental film that holds up. It's one of the best made movies this year. Like objectively, not working favorites into it. Just again, Dunkirk was great. I wish I could have ranked it higher. So yeah, a lot of good. There's so much good movies this year, folks. That's the.
So then Mark Rylance is like, but Dragon, I worked really hard on.
Dunkirk.
All right. You get the picture.
Right.
Oh man.
Okay. So it's my number 5 then.
Your number 5, Dragon. What will it be?
My number 5 is Batman and Bill.
Oh boy. No, Dragon. I've only seen this a couple times for the podcast that we did, so it's not really as fresh in my head. So I didn't really feel comfortable ranking it. Just because it's, I didn't have time to rewatch it. But suffice to say, I really enjoyed this one. So by all means, go ahead.
Well, this one, again, bear in mind, folks, this list is very much comprised of, of kind of favorites and kind of our experiences with the movies and just kind of how we felt about them. So, we're not going for critically is the best. This for me this year, this is going into this year, because I knew this was coming last year. They announced this was coming last year. This was my most anticipated movie of 2017. Technically, because I knew this was coming, and this is coming out of this is the best Batman documentary I've ever seen. It's definitely the best Batman documentary. Yeah. I know, because for me, easily, it's the best Batman documentary. It has this with this great untold story. I've heard the story in 2014 with Mark Tyler Nobleman, who was focused upon in the film. Very much he is tied to the story. That's why you get Mark Tyler Nobleman in the story. He's the champion. He's Bill Finger's Batman. He's the representation of getting justice for Bill Finger. It's Nobleman. I heard him tell Kevin Smith the story in Fat Man on Batman. That's honestly, my worldview was kind of rocked with just all the information about Bill Finger there. I mean, I knew the name Bill Finger. I knew he was involved in Batman. I didn't know he was involved in the creation until 2014, until 75 years after Batman was created. I didn't know that. And basically, this movie kind of takes the information revealed there and kind of turns into this adventure, this journey of getting justice for Bill Finger. And it has it's not just rehashing the same information. Don't get me wrong, that is built into the movie, and I guess that's very much kind of the skeleton, if you will. But what it really is we have all these great moments. It's such a personal documentary. It's like a documentary that there are stakes there, even though it invests you the audience in it. It invests you in Bill Finger, and we start the movie. It's such a great movie to I don't know. I have a lot of fun rewatching. I don't know if everyone else will have the same experience with it, with the rewatchability, but it's an adventure. And it's very well comprised. It was a very well comprised documentary. It has great artwork. I want to say it's Ty Templeton doing the art, because he did the art in the book that Mark Tyler Nobleman did, and it looks kind of similar to that. We have these moments of like the discovery of to Nobleman. He's telling the story as he regularly did. To children at a school, and he's basically kind of saying. And you'll notice the man who gets the credit for Batman is Bob Kane.
Mm-hmm.
That's not true, and that's that's the cold open. It's very grabbing. It's very enthralling. You have all these moments where the first time you hear Bill Finger's voice on these long lost audio tapes, and that's amazing. That's something I never had before, and you have these. The big moment for me is when Charles Sinclair, Bill Finger's friend, the guy who wrote the only thing that Bill Finger ever got credit for with Batman in his life, was the Clock King episode of the '60s Batman television show. And we see through that Ty Templeton artwork this really haunting bit, and this basically kind of jumpstarts the whole kind of the journey to for Mark Tyler Nobleman, from documenting Bill Finger to kind of getting justice for Bill Finger when he learns of what Bill Finger, he died penniless. And there's this animated, it's kind of a motion comic animated sequence where Charles Sinclair, he recounts discovering Bill Finger dead in his apartment alone and penniless. And it was just so, it curdles your blood with how kind of just the cold realization that, it's getting justice for Batman's true father in a way. And it leaves you with a thirst for justice. Nobleman, he's very likable. He is very much, he's a research detective. And that ending, the ending to this film, folks. I mean, the ending. This, if anyone hasn't watched this, I highly recommend it. But the ending kind of it sets things right, because we know Bill Finger now gets credit, and this shows you the steps that were taken to make that. To make that possibly. Michael Uslan is in this movie, and I met Michael Uslan. He told me the story that you see unfold in this movie, where Michael Uslan, essentially, he's kind of, I always equate him to being the Godfather of Batman, and that he is, he's responsible for Batman on film. He's the guy who really championed Batman '89 after he saw the '60s Batman movie. When that was released, he executive produces every Batman thing, animates just everything Batman you see today. That's all Michael Uslan. I was able, to meet him, and in the end, when you see Michael Uslan with that button on his jacket, attending like the 10th premiere in his career that involved Batman. It says "Thank you, Bill Finger," while he has like the bat signal, the bat symbol tie, and just the moment in the ending linking up to the theater, and like the first time the credits are seen. Bill Finger's credits is seen on the big screen. That's a recurring theme in the movie, and honestly, just the revelation. It's in the book. It's in Bill the Boy Wonder, which I'd also recommend to everyone. Just that moment where we learn that Bill Finger's son. Well, the tragedy was that Bill Finger never got a proper burial, but we learned that at some point in time, it's like a secret that no one discovered, that Bill Finger's body was actually cremated, and his son did get the ashes, and his son is no longer around. Of course, he spread the ash, and this is poetic. You can't. It's like it actually happened. I mean, it's been attested to by at least 2 people. So the point is, it's a matter of some record. He spreads the ashes in the shape of a bat symbol for his
God.
Nice. It's swept out into the ocean, and that just the way it's animated and seeing that unfold. I mean, it's a thing of beauty. I mean, it got me really emotional. It's the most moving Batman documentary. Honestly, and the last thing I'll say, just rather than I can go on forever about this, but I mean, I purely became a member of Hulu just so I could watch this movie.
I don't blame you.
That's the thing. I kept biding my time, because I mean, I didn't. It's kind of like how I got into the Batman video games. I always have to update, even though I don't want to. I have to keep getting like the new system. In this case, I don't want to have to subscribe to Hulu. I was going to do like a free trial, and I just going to end up keeping it for I don't know how much longer. But basically, it's a crime. This thing isn't out on DVD, so I can just own the DVD. Mm-hmm. That's the one thing that ticks me off. But at the same time, just watching this thing, man, it was a highlight of 2017 for me. I love this movie so much. I love the fact that the story is, even if people don't want to look into it, they won't look into all the trials and tribulations in getting Bill Finger's name on the book. I love that this movie exists to show that tale. It's an excellent documentary. I love it very much.
All right. And what can my number 4 be, Dragon? Who knows? Sorry, I'm stalling. Okay, number 4
is One After Five.
Good Time.
Yeah.
All right, so Dragon, I'm going to take a wild guess and say out of all the movies in my top 5, this is the one that you have the least bearing on.
Yes.
I'm not surprised. This is a batshit movie, Dragon, and frankly, I don't think you would like it.
I gotta tell you, the trailers really did not do this movie any. I'm getting a sense they didn't do this movie any justice, because like those trailers, they tell you. Honestly, both the trailers you sent me, they tell me nothing about the movie. I was kind of bugged by that.
Well, I think the trailer for Call Me by Your Name, spoiler alert, more reflects what I love about that movie. But Good Time, I agree, the trailer isn't great.
I watched both. I watched a few trailers because I still couldn't grasp it all with this movie. So it's like about 2 brothers and one's in trouble. That's about it. That's all I got.
Yeah, here's the thing about Good Time, Dragon. It's a very confined movie. It's a very tight movie. It's only like 90 minutes. I love it because of how raw it is. Essentially, it does have a personal element to it for me, Dragon, because the brother, they don't outright say what he has, but he does have learning disability. And so that's the thing. Robert Pattinson, freaking Edward Cullen's himself, Dragon, freaking, sparkly Twilight boy.
Yeah.
He delivers what I might consider to be the best performance of the whole year. because this guy is just he is such an intense level of just a scumbag and yet a good brother, where he's a scumbag for getting his brother into the situation that his brother is in the first place, which is essentially, it's a botched bank robbery at the beginning of the movie. It's like a cold open almost, you know, where it's like him and his brother are pulling off a bank robbery. Robert Pattinson is clearly sorry, I keep calling him Patterson. It's
Pattinson.
Yeah.
Think like the General Tiki, Patton. And that's son. Patton's son.
Right, so Robert Pattinson, you know, he's just kind of like, it starts out where he's just an awful person because he's dragging his brother into this circumstance, and his brother's the one who takes the blame. His brother's the one who takes the fall, even though his brother is kind of like I said, Dragon, it doesn't outright say what he has. I'm guessing I'm guessing he's on the autism spectrum. You know, I would know. So it's a really powerful movie about brotherhood, Dragon. That's what really struck me about this. It's both a really powerful movie about brotherhood and also just a hard-boiled, fucking hardcore, balls-to-the-walls thriller that you would hate. I'm not going to lie. I'm not going to lie.
All right.
But for me personally, because this is my top 5, you know, because this is my ranking. This is a movie that I saw back in August. This movie crept up on me, Dragon. I had no idea what this movie was really about when I walked into it. I literally just saw this poster, Dragon. This poster alone sold me on the movie because it was outside my movie theater. And, you know, that quote, like, pure cinematic pleasure. You know, I dug the colors. I dug the style. I dug the logo. I was sold. And I was kind of skeptical of Robert Pattinson, but I was like, you know what? He might be good. He might be good. I've seen him in other things where he's certainly better than his Twilight performance. And yeah, like I said, in this, it's a complete 180 from everything he did in Twilight. His character is a disgusting individual who will go to the ends of the earth to save his brother. So, Dragon, do you see the dichotomy in that?
Yeah.
He's an absolute piece of shit person on pretty much every level. But when his brother's in a jam, he will put himself in the most harrowing, hardcore circumstances to make sure that his brother gets out of this, gets out of this holding cell, because he knows that his brother is going to be, his brother's going to be fresh meat in jail.
Right.
And so,
Breakers, yeah.
Yeah, and so it's basically like he needs to get $10,000 for the bond. You saw that in the trailer.
Yeah.
And, oh, man, just Dragon, the lengths that this guy will go to for this, it's harrowing. It's absolutely harrowing. It's white knuckle at its finest. And like I said, the reason why it's above Dunkirk, even though I think Dunkirk is probably the better made movie, is Robert Pattinson's character arc, man. Robert Pattinson's arc in this movie is outstanding. Because, like I said, he goes from a scumbag, and through basically getting his brother out of jail is like his redemption. You know what I mean? It's his big sort of like, he ultimately, by the end of the movie, and I don't want to spoil how it ends, of course, but by the end of the movie, you're left in a place where you're like, Robert Pattinson is genuinely a good guy. And it starts from this really malicious place of Robert Pattinson is literally dragging his brother with learning disabilities into a crime, and basically Robert Pattinson does some disgusting stuff in this movie that I don't want to repeat, and that would probably turn you off of the movie. So I'll just leave it at that. All right, but folks, anyone who's looking for just like a great white knuckle, like, Dragon, this is a Jacob Gulliver movie, I think. Like, this is a movie that Jacob Gulliver would put on and just absolutely fall in love with. I have that feeling. So much in the same way that something like Swiss Army Man from last year. This is basically this year's Swiss Army Man. That it came out of nowhere. It's really unique. Although I think this is a much better movie than Swiss Army Man, because Swiss Army Man didn't really hold up for me outside of its premise. But yeah, Dragon, not your type of movie, but anyone who loves a good white knuckle thriller, I would definitely give it a shot. It's Dragon, I think the name lives up to the title. I mean, what are you gonna do? The title is very accurate. It's a good time.
That's really good font on that logo. I like, the good.
That's what I'm saying, man. It sold me. The logo alone sold me. It's a good poster.
Yeah.
Okay, so Dragon, your number 4 is actually also my number 3. So I'm going to punt to your number 3 if you don't mind. And then we'll talk about our number 4, your number 4, and my number 3.
So when you say punt, I mean, do you mean just gonna latch on to mine, or?
No. I mean, I'm gonna skip your number 4 for now, and we're gonna come back to it because that's my number 3, and I don't want us repeating ourselves. And we're going to go to your number 3. All right, does that make sense?
It seems a little convoluted, but I guess sure, why not?
Okay.
Wouldn't it make more sense just if you're number 3, you just shouldn't I just do mine? Then why don't we just talk about it together? Because that's your number 3. I'm saying chronologically, mine's next anyway, so you just might as well. If your number 3 is my number 4, we just might as well talk about it with mine. I'm saying that makes it easier, doesn't it?
Okay, yeah, but then the thing is, I would only have that'd be jumping ahead for me though.
Hey, all right, fine. We'll jump ahead for me then.
Okay, sorry, I'm trying to work out the math on this. Okay, if we did I don't know. Fuck. What do you want to do, Dragon?
Look, I mean, it just seems it's going to be easier if we just we'll both talk about it. Then I just we'll talk about. Then I'll just go back to go to my next one. Then we'll go back and forth again. It should be fine.
Okay. Yeah. So your number 4 and also my number 3 is.
Movie set. Let's say, not recently, or really nearby. Let's say, I don't know, maybe a long, long time ago in a galaxy far, far away for the 8th time.
Well, technically 10th, theatrically.
Mr. Semantics.
And Dragon, it pains me that I have to work in that 10th one, all right? It pains me that I have to go into the double digits. It really does.
Wait a minute. 8, 9. Are we counting? You can.
Yes, I'm counting Clone Wars.
Oh, come on, it's
theatrically released.
Yeah, it's but no way. When we're talking about the act, oh, you silly. Fine. For the umpteenth time, Star Wars: The Last Jedi.
So, Dragon, you and I both love this film.
Yeah.
I'm being kind of facetious. I'm kind of quoting Red Letter Media on this one, but it's true. It's true. This is the Star Wars movie I've always wanted. I've always wanted. This is a Star Wars movie that changed things. Dragon, I don't know. I don't want to get into the debate right now because, frankly, we are going to be debating this movie a lot in the upcoming Disney debate tomorrow. So I really kind of want to just talk about what we like about the movie and just kind of lay the controversy of this movie to rest for the time being.
Yeah, sure. Let me say this. So for my top 5, I just want to say this much. My 1, 2, and 5 for me were always locked in. So I knew what those 3 were always going to be. But honestly, 4 and 3, I mean, they kept switching around. Last year, I was almost a little higher on my list. But again, I kept just kind of going back and forth. I mean, so the first time I saw Last Jedi, we were very high on. I still enjoy the crap out of this movie. I really do. I do really like this movie. But I haven't seen another time because again, it's been really popular and also just, it's holidays and everything. So I haven't been able to see it a second time yet. I will see it again in January probably. But, I haven't been able to see it, but it sticks with you, it stews with you a little bit. And I tell you, I still love all the stuff I really love in this movie. Like Mark Hamill's Luke Skywalker being the big king element of this movie. Just, oh my God, that's no matter what, that's why this isn't a top 5 regardless. I don't care what anyone else says. Mark Hamill is fantastic in this movie.
Absolutely.
And it's the 2 factors of Mark Hamill as Luke and being in the world again, just being in Star. It's just always that. It's like that magic kind of like you're entering, like the first time you enter Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory. It's the first time you enter that factory. It's like that world pure imagination feeling, but it's with Star Wars. It's like it's nothing tops just being in that world again. And this time we have our old favorite, Mark Hamill in it. So that's always going to be why this is a top 5 material movie.
Dragon, this is also the movie that cemented most of the new cast.
Yeah, I mean, I love how we developed Kylo Ren and Rey. I mean, that's a kind of that's cool.
Like, because I was on the fence about both of those characters from The Force Awakens. I'm more on the fence about Kylo Ren from The Force Awakens, having rewatched it, and I like Rey. I think Rey in The Last Jedi was just far more complex and well developed, and I actually really, really like her parentage. You know, I really love that reveal. I won't exactly say what it is for anyone, but
Okay, let's say this. Let's just say we do have, I think, yeah, technically our first, honest to goodness flashback here. I'll say that much. I mean, it's been out for a while. I won't say what or anything. I was going to say, we have the first kind of flashback in Star Wars, and it's an amazing kind of, it's an amazing scene.
it's the most Ryan Johnson moment in the movie.
It is, and it's that if I honestly, it's probably one of my all time. If I don't know if it's my again, there's so many good moments in the movie. It's kind of hard to rank them like off the top of my head right now. I would say a flashback is definitely up there. It's definitely like it's a visual snapshot there in this flashback that just is a thing of beauty and how it's applied to the story, and that attaches some unconventional choices that
no.
Yes, that attached with some unconventional choices that everything really helped the movie and really kind of make the movie something different. Like I don't know, it's still I don't think it beats the original trilogy for me, but I mean it's like right. I'd say it would surpass all the other stuff. I think it's like right like it's like it could edge into the original trilogy. It's like it's right outside of Return of the Jedi for me. It's really good.
And honestly, I can't emphasize enough how fascinating Kylo Ren is to me now. I think Kylo Ren is just they really knocked it out of the park with that villain.
All I'll say is that and the reason it's probably it's not like in like the number higher on any of on our list for me at least. I'll say the reason I didn't
Planet.
Well, no, well, I was going to kind of umbrella it under a few things, but let's just say not specifically the Casino Planet. Let's just say
but specifically the Casino Planet.
I'm saying it's included. Okay, fine.
I'm just saying it's like the Casino Planet is one of those things where universally I have never seen one person who's like, you know what I loved the Casino Planet.
Well, okay, I'll say this. Well, if we want to be specific, it's the Casino Planet and Laura Dern, all right? Those are the two elements that hurt the movie, all right?
Okay, Laura Dern, to me, it's just like kind of like wish fulfillment. It's like, yeah, Laura Dern, awesome. You kick ass, girl.
My point is, there are moments that seem to be, and here's the thing, I would say there's nothing bad in Last Jedi, but I would say this much. I think it's not bad, but I think there's stuff that could have been figured out a little more. Because, again, it just seems like that's kind of the big thing I kind of noticed it's kind of hard to get around is that, it seems like we had a game plan and we're changing things up. I don't mind we change things up, just kind of, it kind of leaves your head scratching at a few points. But it doesn't take away from any of the cool stuff that's being put before you. It just seems like, we got a lot of cool stuff to fit in here. It seems like, we're deviating with stuff like the casino.
And the casino is a really interesting world, and it puts forth some interesting philosophy.
Again, I don't think that I don't think anything was. Again, nothing was inferior. It just feels like we're trying to get like some stuff in there. But it almost feels like kind of fodder for another movie almost. A lot of it, even with the Laura Dern stuff. I get what they're going for, but again, I don't want to just bog it down. We'll talk about that more in other places. The point is, there's stuff that could have been figured out more or adjusted, but yeah, it's a darn good movie. It's such a darn good movie. I mean, it could again. That's like the one thing that stopped me from ranking number 3. But again, still nothing will take away from just the experience, just how fulfilling it is to see Mark Hamill as a really well developed Skywalker.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so Dragon, that like I said, that was also my number 3, and sure. So now we'll get to your number 3.
And so, folks, just make sure we're tracking here. Okay, Last Jedi was my number 4, was his number 3, and now we're getting to my number 3.
Yep.
Make sure our insurance practices are covered on that one. Okay. Number 3.
Your number 3 is...
It is another space movie. It is Thor Ragnarok.
And Dragon, this movie is such a fun time. I affectionately call it 80s heavy metal album cover, the movie. It's just it doesn't take itself seriously enough to get into the top 10 for me personally.
Look, I'll say it. Here's what I'm going to say for Thor Ragnarok. Thor Ragnarok, again, it is such a great time. It explores the MCU. It's, of course, definitely got some Planet Hulk in there, which is very much appreciated. I know it wasn't a verbatim adaptation like a lot of people were hoping for, but the fact is we got it in there, folks. We're never going to get a full verbatim. Again, we have the animated film. I'm satisfied with that. We don't need honestly, I don't think we need a whole the whole Planet Hulk experience. I wouldn't mind it. It's like the nod and the reference was enough, and we had some deep cut characters, so that was enough for me. Here's the thing. I'm going to say this. I would say my only gripe against Thor Ragnarok is that I like that the dramatic elements are there, and there's a lot of comedy. My issue is that they could have balanced it more. It's an uneven balance. I like that it's there, though. That's the thing. If there's enough of it there, it could have been balanced out more, so it doesn't seem like, because everyone, the mother says, it's too funny, it's not taken so seriously. It was too much comedy, and again, they're not entirely wrong. It's just but the drama is still there, though. It's there. It just it gets overshadowed. Yes. But again, it's good element. I mean, it was probably this along with Disaster Artist is probably the best in theater experience I had the whole year. Honestly, those two.
Which you're really lucky, because my theater experience was honestly kind of disappointing.
Yes, I mean those two. It's a great sci-fi adventure film. It's kind of a Thor who's been through a lot of stuff, and he's kind of.
I love how self-contained it is.
Yes, it is. It is very self-contained. We get to it's a kind of we can cross over with other elements that we've seen in the MCU, and of course with the Grandmaster, kind of connecting some. There's some Guardians lifeblood in this. And there's also some some Doctor Strange.
I also love how I feel like it's the closest thing to basically an issue of a Marvel comic that we've seen so far.
Yes, and again, I love that we're kind of reaching this point where we can have this kind of like a duo of Marvel characters, kind of in a movie like this. And again, we were expecting kind of like a buddy movie across the cosmos, and it doesn't exactly turn out like that. But at the same time, it's still inspired by that. You can see that in the movie. Just like it's kind of it does start off like a great Thor movie, and it's still Thor, of course, is definitely within this, and Asgard is definitely a presence. It's just that.
Jacob Gulliver was endlessly tickled by getting to see Anthony Hopkins say, "Oh shit." Endlessly tickled.
Right. So I think it's the most, I'd say the most kind of fun. I don't want to say, I guess ambitious. Would you say ambitious would be the right word?
I would, yes, because it definitely from beginning to end, from top to bottom, it's it really is. I
mean, look, even from just the marketing of the whole, using the Led Zeppelin music, it just seemed like such kind of such a left turn for Thor, but in the best way. It just seemed like we're pulling again,
after the Dark World, and the Dark World's not a terrible movie or anything, but after the Dark World, I think Thor kind of needed a little bit of a jump start again.
That's what I'm saying. I think it was an appreciated jump start, and it was probably one of the most fun films of 2017 for me. So I mean, I had a blast with it, and that still holds up for me. So that's why it's that high on the list. And it was I think everyone I've seen it with has also had a good time. So it was
good time.
Yes, good reflection of
good time. Yes. Okay, and speaking of movies that you're probably never going to see in your life, Dragon. And I'm sure you're relieved that this is my number 2 and not my number 1.
Well, you bet I'm relieved. I get that. You're gonna have to convince me on this. I'm still surprised this surpassed some of the other stuff. You gotta explain this one to me. I don't understand why this is that high. Based on a trailer, I don't understand. So tell me.
I'm trying to find the words for why this affected me so much.
Well, can you give me a cell line of what this movie's even about? Can you
well, I can give you a cell line of how it affected me.
Okay, what do you got?
So last year when Moonlight came out and everyone was going crazy about it, I was like, okay, you know what? It's a very well-made movie, but it's like I feel like Moonlight has 2 inherent problems with it that kept. I'm not saying that there are inherent problems in the movie that people shouldn't like the movie because of it. People shouldn't love the movie because of it. I'm not saying that. You know my attitude, Dragon. Yeah. Film is subjective and all that. But there were 2 elements in Moonlight for me that kept it from really falling in love with it and kept it from my top 10 of that year. The first one was the fact that it was essentially 3 different stories, yes, about the same character, but the movie just jumped around so much. Oh, God, I'm sorry. Cottonmouth. What's his name?
Mahershala Ali.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I just didn't want to mispronounce it. Yeah. He has 10 minutes of screen time, Dragon. He's great, but he has 10 minutes of screen time in the whole movie.
He is great in everything, though. I just wanted to point that out, too.
And I don't know. Moonlight just fundamentally, like, the structure of it was intriguing to me on paper, but just watching the movie, it just doesn't really gel together all that well, just because characters kind of come in and out of it in such a abrupt way. And also, Dragon, I just felt like Moonlight was very much, it was about a very specific experience. It was about, a very, very, like, I don't want to use the word niche because that's not the right word. It was about a very, a demographically an incredibly small experience in this country. That is an important thing to highlight, like homosexuality in the Black community, how the Black community is, it's built upon machoism. You know what I mean? It's built
maybe
upon
like underreported, maybe?
What?
Underreported? Maybe that's what the word you're looking for?
Sure. Okay, so Dragon, basically, Call Me by Your Name, it basically fixes all those things. It's this movie affected me the same way that I think Moonlight affected everyone else. That's my soul line.
Remind me, Armie Hammer's in this, right? He's
Armie Hammer is the guy that you see shaking the not shaking the hand, but holding.
He's providing the arm. That's what
yes. And seriously, Dragon, isn't this a pleasant image? Tell me this isn't a pleasant image.
I mean, it gets a little disturbing with the arm thing. I gotta be honest.
I
know it's like a statue arm. I mean, don't get me wrong. They seem really happy. They seem like all nice and stuff. I understand the arm's a little kind of. It's okay. It's fine.
Okay, so
I mean, I like Armie Hammer. So it's good to hear he's in he's in a really good movie.
Okay, so this movie, it's incredibly relatable and it's incredibly self-contained. This is a universal love story. This is a love story that anyone can get behind. And I'm not saying that Moonlight didn't just affect, like gay Black men. I'm not saying that, of course not. But I'm saying, like, this is a movie that basically, the same way that Dunkirk deconstructs war, this movie deconstructs love, Dragon, and it's powerful. It's powerful. It freaking floored me, Dragon. And I only went into it because it's been getting Best Picture hype. And I've got to admit, I was one of those people going into it. I was skeptical about it. I was like, okay, is it just getting Best Picture hype because of the political thing? Because to cast a wider demographic, the LBGT and all that. Is that the reason? No, not at all. Not even in the slightest. This movie is it's a punch in the gut. Essentially, Dragon, this movie is about falling in love, and it doesn't freaking matter the gender whatsoever, because of the way it's handled, because of the quiet moments between these two people, because of and speaking to the self-contained element of this movie, Dragon, this movie's set in it's a 6 week time period. Armie Hammer is playing a guy who's basically interning for the kid's father for a 6 week summer vacation in Italy. The whole movie set in Italy. His father is he excavates statues. You see a little bit of that in the trailer.
Yeah.
The whole movie set in Italy. The scenic quality of this is amazing. It only costs like $1 million to make. It really is a low budget movie, all things considered. But you feel like you've gone on this big adventure, both emotionally and just through all these beautiful locations and beautiful locales. The movie's a gut punch, Dragon, because Armie Hammer and I'm just gonna call it Dragon. I'm gonna do what the movie says for me to do, and I'm gonna call them by their names. So Elio, who's the kid you see shaking the hand here, he's the younger man of the two, and you know what? Can I just call him Armie Hammer?
There's no skin off my nose. Just call him Armie Hammer.
Okay, I'm gonna call it Elio and Armie Hammer, because I honestly just don't know the name of the actor off the top of my head. So Elio is oh god, there's so many things about this movie.
I should give you crap for it because of what you did with me on Boss Baby. I'm gonna let it slide because I'm a nice guy.
Fair enough. There's so many things about this movie. There's so many things. I don't know. Okay, so the movie starts. Armie Hammer is this cocksure kind of like cowboy who comes into town. Elio is very cultured, right? His parents are like, he's essentially half Italian because he spends half of his life in Italy. And he's very cultured, very sophisticated, but also very socially awkward. Also just he just doesn't he doesn't get the important things. And that's a big line in the movie, Dragon, the important things. Armie Hammer, like I said, he comes in, he's like a cowboy. He's cocksure of himself. He's just got such a suave persona to him. And Elio he's attracted to that, but not necessarily in a sexual way. He's attracted to that because it's everything he wants to be. But here's the thing, the culture, the sophistication of Elio is everything that Armie Hammer wants to be, because Armie Hammer, he comes from a broken household. He comes from a household where his father was basically like a homophobic drunk, obviously not entirely enthused about the lifestyle choices that this character maybe went on. This character, his backstory is kept vague. His backstory is kept mysterious except for the abusive father. But that's the thing. Elio's got this perfect cultured life, and Armie Hammer just values that. So essentially, they're filling holes in each other's life as the movie goes along. And Dragon, the quiet spaces between them, just the way that it ultimately goes, the way that they ultimately just fall for each other. Like I said, it doesn't matter. Like it doesn't matter what your gender, what you feel about sexuality. It doesn't matter what your sexual preference is. It really doesn't. At the end of the day, this is like, it's so touching. It's so powerful. What?
It's a love story.
Exactly. And Dragon, you can imagine there's a ticking clock element to this. As they're falling deeper and deeper into each other, Armie Hammer is going away in 6 weeks. That's the whole thing. So a lot of the movie is about wasted time. Like, this movie's got a very deliberate pace to it. This movie creeps up on you, much like life does. Throughout the first 2/3 of this movie, it's Armie Hammer and Elio basically dicking around with each other. And then, towards the third act, when the relationship actually starts to bud and develop, and I'm telling you, the tension and the chemistry there is just, it's palatable, Dragon, between these two actors. And when they ultimately do get together, it's devastating because they get together far too late. And that's the tragedy of this whole story. And it's a gut punch, Dragon. It's an absolute gut punch. And it's life, though. And honestly, I'm getting a little choked up just thinking about it. I'm sorry, this is silly.
No, I believe it. Sounds like, again, honestly, you kind of sell me on the time sneaking up. Yeah, so that sounds. I mean, I can relate to that. Again, kind of time just kind of creeping on you like the Grim Reaper. It sounds kind of cool.
And you can tell why this is my number 2, because it's like I'm literally like kind of I just watched this movie yesterday, and I literally have to compose myself while talking about it. It's that powerful for me. Dragon, here's the big sell for you. You saw a little bit of this in the trailer, but in the actual movie, it's the moment of the movie. It's the speech that the father gives at the end of the movie. Again, fucking chokes me up, man. Fucking chokes me the fuck up.
All right.
This is the best parental speech I have ever seen in a movie, bar none. Bar none. I don't say that lightly. I really don't. God, I am such an emotional wreck over this movie, Dragon. Seriously.
It made Kevin Smith's DC career, so might as well.
No, I'm serious, Dragon. This, like, literally, I wasn't expecting to literally cry over just talking about this movie. This is a surprise for me, but, like, just reflecting and thinking about it, like, God damn it. Like, I'm sold on my number 1, Dragon, but you can understand where, personally, this might be my number 1 on a very personal level.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I'm glad I did a better job selling you on this one than I did on Good Time.
Yeah, definitely. Again, so that time thing sounds haunting. I like it. I kind of like it.
Oh,
I don't like Armie Hammer. So, I mean, again, if it comes...
Armie Hammer is fantastic.
I'll tell you what, I might give it a shot, assume it's on demand or something.
And like I said, Dragon, the best dad speech in the history of dad speeches, bar none. Best dad speech ever.
I'm sorry, do you mean Hammer gives a dad speech? I mean the actual...
No. I mean Elio's dad gives a dad speech.
Oh. All right.
Best dad speech ever.
Okay.
All right. Oh, man. Okay, let's see. So, Dragon, you have a number 2, right? Yeah.
Yes, I do.
Okay.
Again, folks, I was really locked in my number 1 and my number 2, so I knew this was going to be up there. Honestly, it was number 1 until the number 1 came out. So, I mean, this was number 1. Number 2 would very easily be Logan.
Yes.
Oh boy, Logan.
Like I said, Dragon, it's not entirely the most rewatchable thing in the world for me, which is why it's not in my top 5. But like, you have every reason in the world to love it.
Oh yeah. So, oh god, Logan. Where to start? Honestly, oh boy, it's James Mangold's masterpiece. It really is. It's for me the cell line for Logan. The best way I could describe Logan for me, and at least my experience with Logan, is that it's the serious equivalent to Deadpool as a statement on how you do a comic book film. That's really it. So Deadpool is kind of, it's mocking it while remaining true to a character, showing you how to adapt a character like right off the page. In Logan's case, it's providing a really kind of smart, kind of dour, but heartfelt commentary on the comic book film. Like, you have these expectations, and this is what it looks like in the real world. Basically, you can live up to the comic book ideal. You can live up to these fanciful things, but through gritty reality. So again, it complements Deadpool in such kind of a yin yang sort of way, and that really grabs me about Logan at its core. But just looking at Logan as a film, it's very competently made. It's again, Hugh Jackman. Honestly, the movie, the director, James Mangold, the film itself, and Hugh Jackman. I do sincerely believe all deserve Oscar nominations. I really do. I think they all they knocked it out of the ballpark. They did an amazing job. This was a great swan song for Hugh Jackman. Again, it's very unlike. Again, he himself is, he's always had like those two kind of. It's so funny. Part of me thinks that Disney might have just. In part, because we all know what really motivated the whole Disney Fox deal. It was mainly for the Star Wars property, but on some level, you got to wonder if Hugh Jackman always said he might come back to the role if the Avengers could cross over with the X-Men, if they kind of settled all the rights things. a party has to wonder, but no, in all seriousness, Hugh Jackman himself, in those kind of cheeky statements, and of course Ryan Reynolds saying, "Hey, I'll get him to do a movie. We're pals." And at the end of the day, though, Hugh Jackman himself is kind of acknowledged. Like, you know what? It's such a great role, such a great kind of. It's like going out on a high, like the old Jerry Seinfeld kind of saying of like, it's always best to kind of leave one and more, go out on a high note. I don't think it's coming back after this, because
I really hope not, honestly.
Regardless, just doing something with Wolverine.
Unless they did like a Wolverine versus Hulk or something, and they had him in the yellow suit.
That's what I think you and we pitched this back and forth before.
I think we did, yeah.
That's the thing. So regardless, I think Marvel should try to do that movie, even if we have to. Again, it'd be great if we could do Hugh Jackman. The reason, that's the one thing I'd love to see Jackman come back to do that he's not done with Wolverine yet, to do that movie. But again, regardless, even just seeing that period with a Wolverine would be cool. Regardless, getting back on Logan here. It's. I think the opening for me, again, it had me at my experience with Logan. Again, honestly, if there was like a third tier theatrical experience this year for me, saying the big three, of course, you get Disaster Artist, which I already mentioned, which was very surprising. It's kind of a great experience. Thor Ragnarok, which is kind of great. It was like almost died from laughing and just having a good time with just being blown away left and right, and all the the heavy metal and everything. Thor Ragnarok. Logan for me though was a great way to start off the year, in that it was my first Dolby movie. It's the first movie I saw in Dolby.
Nice. What a good movie to see. Dolby Atmos, to clarify.
Yes, Dolby Atmos is my first movie I've ever seen in Dolby Atmos, which essentially is kind of it's sort of like, it's not the 4DX type thing, but it's the sound system basically would vibe. It puts you inside the movie a little bit more. It's a bigger screen. It's better quality, like kind of darkness and kind of rendering on the screen. It have the nice cushy chairs that can recline, which now it's in every theater. It's a little less special, but with Dolby, it feels like my point is I was paid extra to get for Dolby, and when I was watching the movie, I got my money's worth in many ways, because the best note I could say about Logan, honestly, that doesn't even include Logan, but it shows you how good the movie is. Like, I was sold on Dolby and the movie itself with the Deadpool teaser Um, that now was on YouTube, but at the time, again, it was the best surprise ever. So the movie started.
I love how it's attached to the actual movie.
Yes, and I was like right at the top because Logan is in a theater playing literally in the footage. It's it's the Deadpool teaser where he's changing the foot in the phone booth, and it was just that itself like that 3 minutes or so of footage from Reynolds as Deadpool, and that alone just I could have walked out of that movie without having seen Logan and been happy, to be quite honest. Just that experiencing and and Dolby's not expecting whatsoever, and just it's like, oh my god, it's Deadpool. Not only is it Deadpool, it's Deadpool, within the Logan movie. It's breaking the fourth wall. Not only that, they're using the Christopher Reeve music. Oh my god, they're using the John Williams theme. Oh my god. It's like it just kept getting better and better and better. So again, that in itself was just a fantastic experience. Then the movie started, and honestly, the thing grabbed me again. I had basically 2 moments back to back that kind of made the experience. Again, I could have walked out after these 2 moments and just been happy. Just the opening scene got me so much.
It really is a fantastic opening.
Again, the base of the limo sequence in the beginning, where people, the cholos are stealing the tires off the limo, and it's a beaten, tired Wolverine. We get to see him go into the berserker mode, but it's not just for the appeal of like, hey, he's getting all violent stuff. It's the tragedy and those notes that play at the end of the sequence just shows you that it just communicates. This is a tragedy. This is going to be this is going to be a different experience. It's going to be like, this is going to be like, you can get a sense from the beginning, it's going to be the ultimate swan song for this character. Like, forget all the stuff you've seen before. The Wolverine was fun. It was as cool as adapting, a beloved Wolverine story. X-Men Origins Wolverine. That's another bag of issues. Just forget all that. Any love you had in the X-Men movies, again, that's a foundation. That's kind of gotten you all the way to this point where it's just it's this poor beaten character, like the symbol of like the one claw that won't come out all the way, and it's just these. And again, just at that piano music, that whole sequence of just seeing Wolverine just kind of as the limo driver, and ending with that funeral, and of course how that kind of it's a beautiful foreshadow for events in the movie. Just that whole dun 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 dun. Just that opening sequence had me so much in the beginning, even just the ending of like him walking back after killing those guys, just the whole shebang, just the film's a thing. We can spend all day talking about Logan again because it's really that good movie. But of course the ending, I don't know how much I want. Again, it's been out, but everyone knows the ending at this point. What do you think? You think I should spoil it or?
Yeah, I'd spoil it at your own discretion.
Look, folks, I'm just going to say, just the last image of the movie, just I'll say the X. People don't talk about, the X bit. It was
sure.
That got me so much in the theater when I saw that, because it was like the perfect image, and it was inspired by the comics. They never did that in the comics, but I heard in the commentary it was like inspired by something that was done to Wolverine with kind of like with sort of like a crucifixion, but they did like it was this beautiful beautiful little detail. It says so much that in the end Wolverine, while he rejected the X-Men so many times, and in the end he was Charles Xavier's student. In the end, while he was like the most reluctant X-Men in the world. His last, it's kind of the ending of this movie is about him, saving the next generation of saving the proper New Mutants, saving the next generation of mutants, and kind of his last action on film. And it's such a beautiful note to go out on with Wolverine. Again, it's called Logan because it's all about, it's not about James Howlett. It's not about the Wolverine. He's called Wolverine mockingly throughout the film by the bad guys, and in the end, he's just he's the man who didn't know who he was, but but always was his interactions with people. That's Logan. That's the movie.
Oh yeah. Well said.
Yeah. Definitely, it should be an Oscar contender, folks. It's beautiful.
All right. So Dragon, do you want to?
I'm assuming our number ones are quite similar, Tiki. Might be.
I'm assuming. Let me think. It's an animated film.
If only I could. What's the word?
It's an animated film, Dragon.
Yeah, true.
It's got some amazing voice talent in it.
Yes, it does.
It's very colorful.
Sure.
It's got some good set pieces. It's No. In all seriousness, Dragon, let me just say, I'm glad that you responded to that with a laugh and not just wanting to kill me.
I'm saying, honestly, if you left it up for a few more seconds, I would have gotten a little upset.
Her number one is Coco.
Yes, silly God.
I just wanted to off guard a little bit just because the number one was so obvious.
Yes. Oh my God. So again, folks, it was before Coco came out. Logan wasn't my number one, but in the end, Coco was just the minute Coco came out. I had a very strong suspicion, and I kind of thought about it a little one after it came out. But obviously, on second viewing, it's easily confirmed within the first few seconds of the movie. Okay, obviously, Coco is it's the movie. Come on, it's number one. It's where to start with Coco? It's Pixar knocks it. Pixar amazes yet again. It's Pixar pulling the same magic. I use the analogy. Pixar knows how to. It's an example of Pixar pulling the same magic that we've seen many times before, but you never get tired of seeing it when they pull this trick. We've seen it with Inside Out. We've seen it with Up, and they did it again with another ingenious movie in Coco.
Yeah, this movie. I honestly think the world building in this movie and the universe that this movie creates, the setting it might be my favorite setting in any movie ever. Like, I could spend all day just watching this movie on mute and watching the Land of the Dead stuff and just like basically, Dragon, I had the experience with this movie that a lot of people when Avatar came out had, where it's like, oh my God, I need to get back to the theater right now to experience that world, man. I can't be away from that world.
It's funny that there's kind of there's definitely a vague self-aware quality with Pixar at this point. It's in this movie, very nobly one of the most famous elements of this movie, and that they literally have a song that tells the audience, don't let it make you cry.
Me.
Well, sure, I was like, don't let it make you cry. It's like there's a lyric in a song warning the audience, whoever's hearing this.
Very much. That is very much a warning. Yes.
Don't let it make you cry. It's like a disclaimer.
It's more like a dare. It's more like a cocky dare, Dragon.
It's like a self-aware disclaimer. We've went through. No, I don't want to go through all like the drunken dare gag, but it's.
Oh God.
I mean, look, just this thing kind of also solidified this is just the fact that as everyone was talking about Logan, this fills me. Tiki, this is on this. Everyone I came across, and I would trigger up conversation about like movies we've seen this year and stuff, and especially with the one I just mentioned, Coco. I get a resounding, and this thing just fills me with such delight, just as a Pixar fan. I get such delight of. I hear it praised by everyone, just saying, "Oh, Coco." I'm hearing from grown men I know saying, "I haven't cried like that in years." Just like everyone, it's just so unanimously beloved, and it's great. It just makes me like, Pixar, you did it. I'm so proud of you. Yes, Pixar still they still got it, even with the most out there unexpected concept. Again, like with Up. Up was like such a left field.
This is very much like the new evolution in Up. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's like two of the most.
It's not a movie that can be explained in one sentence, like a lot of the great Pixar movies.
Yeah, it's like, well, even if that, it's like if you explain it in one sentence, like, people still wouldn't get it. It's like. It's an unfinished love story with a boy and a Cub Scout in a flying house. Like, what?
Yeah, I know, but I'm saying, like, with Finding Nemo, it's like an overprotective father loses his son and must go to the ends of the earth to find him. That's a one sentence premise right there.
Exactly. Inside Out's another whole thing. That one's a lot harder to. Again, it's very much in kind of almost like a Pete Dot.
Monsters Inc. It's like monsters from a society that fear humans fall in love with a human girl who happens to stumble into their world.
Sure. Kid goes in the monster world, and the monsters are terrified children.
Of course, Toy Story is, Toys come to life. Yeah. You get it. You get the picture.
Exactly. And again, that's not knocks against the films by any stretch. I'm just saying that again. It shows you even with something kind of left field with in terms of like a pitch or a premise that would just be hard to sell anyone. Again, it was like a similar market. I want to say again, people were so excited to see Coco on some level because again, they've seen this kind of pull before, like kind of a head scratcher of a pitch with these films before, and that it's like, okay, well, this is bound to be good. And again, it definitely showed. I mean, this film just captures the magic of Pixar. Again, I don't want to just keep saying just Pixar this, Pixar that, but let's just get into the movie itself. It's just again, it has like it has a strong emphasis on family, on music, on embracing your passion, but also has like all the again Pixar keeps doing this to me, and it's just and even with Cars 3, but especially with like 10 times tenfold with this. I love when they take me to school on storytelling, when they keep it's like all the elements are there and you can see it, and it's like it tracks tremendously well. You can rewatch the movie, you can see how these elements connect. You can just you're sold instantly. Again, we kind of play with the animation styles. The animation, of course, is the highest caliber of animation you can ask for. It's the inventiveness and the skeleton and the design and the animation, like how a skeleton can gesture themselves being dead. We kind of do we almost kind of do like the opposite of what we usually expect with skeletons. We give them, they have they have eyes. Usually skeletons don't have eyes. We add that for a very specific reason. Give them that human connection, that human quality, that otherworldly quality. It's not scary. It's not scary. It's not undead. It's a world where we celebrate life instead of fearing death or accepting death. It's that we're embracing the connection beyond death.
Mm-hmm.
It's just the world building, as Tiki said, it's astounding. We have some great plot twist, of course.
What's insane though? We can just talk all day about the world building and the ideas, but at the end of the day, the characters are what make this movie.
At the end of the day, I'm not going to say what it is. I'm going to be ambiguous and cryptic here, because if anyone hasn't seen this movie, you should. Oh, I don't want to do. Let's just make sure you see this darn movie, folks. You don't do yourself the disservice of not seeing this excellent film.
I will say Hector might be the most complex Pixar character ever.
Yes, Hector is
without getting into details as to why he might be the most three-dimensional Pixar character ever.
I still love Mama Imelda so much. I really do. I think we have some great. She's
great too. Yeah, she's wonderful.
Every member of the family is great, if we're being honest. Even the ones we don't spend a lot of time with. I mean, they're still cool and they have a story.
I think Felipe and Oscar have a lot of fun moments on rewatch.
Yeah. That's what I'm saying. Again, it's an Oscar Felix. They're fun. And even with the second cell line we get of them, what their whole shtick was, is okay, those guys seem kind of interesting. They seem like nice people, nice skeleton, nice previous people.
right.
And again, what I'm kind of being ambiguous about here is let's just say, folks, when we get by the end of the film, it builds to a climax that's not like a bombastic climax. It's a scene between two characters. There's an audience, of course, but it's a scene between two characters, and that's the thing. It grabs an audience and it shakes them and says, "This is what good filmmaking looks like." Look at this! Look at the beauty we're putting out here.
Sure,
it's filmmaking of the highest caliber in animation. And
without saying who it is, I will say that this might be the best Pixar villain ever.
Yes, the villain is great, and again, we have some fun. We have some really great surprises, twists, and turns. And what I love is that it's a mystery that is so well thought out. In that, again, the pieces are there, and nothing. It's like
I agree. Watching it's just oh, of course, I can't believe I didn't see it the first time.
And I mean, Tiki, they cover again. I looked it over with a fine tooth comb. I mean, again, maybe there's some missing until I get on DVD. I won't be able to give a super uber pass, but I mean. As far as I can see, the 2 times I've seen them and the times I've constantly thought about it and I repeated in my mind, I really can't. Again, the storytelling, I think, is just kind of iron tight. They cover all their bases. And again, we do that in smart ways, as we see we could easily solve our problem, and then we show why that problem can't easily be solved. I mean, the plot holds up the scrutiny. Our mystery, our reveals, you can't really poke a hole in them, as far as I can see. At least at 2017, I can't really find any holes to poke in. It's an iron tight story. It's got warmth. It's got family. It's got great music. And Pixar's first musical. They did very well with it. It's an unconventional musical. It's great.
Oh yeah.
And again, it just shows you too. This film, of course, had some competition with it makes me happy that this film, you barely hear it talked about. I mean, don't worry, I still mentioned, but I'm just saying it's can easily just kind of disregarded. And I'm so happy with this. I was expecting this all left and right when this film was coming out in production. Book of Life comparisons.
Yeah, right. And it's like as soon as the actual film came out, it's like, nope, this is far better, far different, far superior.
That's what I'm saying. I mean, you might hear like the rough for a moment, but again, it's a no contest. I think even though those things are far apart, they're far separate. You know, they're far different. And again, they are. Again, both are not. I'm not.
I was honestly expecting more of a Kubo comparison between, because of the magic guitar emphasis in the trailer, but the magic guitar really doesn't have any bearing on the actual plot besides being a MacGuffin.
Yeah, so again, without hesitation, folks, this Coco is it's the best film of 2017. I dare anyone to try saying different. Come on,
I dare you. I freaking dare you. You want to fight about it?
I triple dog dare you.
God. Okay, Dragon. I'm gonna concur with you, man. At this point, we were going to move on and talk about the 2018 movies, but honestly, I'm so satisfied with how we're ending things out with Coco. I kind of want to just end things here.
All right. Okay, sure.
And maybe we can do another podcast about 2018 movies instead of just talking about 5 of them, because there's a lot we could talk about. I think maybe we should just make that a standalone podcast.
Okay.
All right. So, Dragon, any final words on 2017 as a whole?
Tiki, if I had to summarize the films of 2017, the films on our list, and of course, always kind of consider like the echo this term within like what makes a good film. If you can do this sort of thing, I guess it would be remember me.
Though I have to say goodbye, remember me.
Don't let it make you cry.